Imagine what you'll know
about muskies.
tomorrow.
What's the catch?
The catch. The catch is you will sever every human contact. Nobody will ever know you exist anywhere. Ever. I'll give you the sunrise to think it over.
About muskies.
Hey, is it worth it?
Oh yeah, it's worth it. If you're strong enough.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. Welcome to episode 84, and exciting news here tonight. We got the fellas back. All three of us are together. Feels like it's been a while. I know we took off during the Thanksgiving pod, but now we're all back. Max and Brian are joining me tonight as we discuss kind of our 2024 season as a whole, do a little wrap up here. We're going to get Rowan Stamm on shortly. I was able to get down and fish with him in southern Wisconsin and get a December muskie. So that was really exciting. We got a lot to talk about there and, maybe talk about Rowan season and whatnot. But let's introduce the fellas on here tonight. So first off, none other than my brother Max. Max, how you doing?
Feeling good, feeling refreshed after a week off. Thanks for carrying the weight last week, I should say. I was out in New York for some work. Glad you guys didn't paint me out to be a complete degenerate again when I miss a podcast saying I'm just out. I was half expecting to listen on Thursday morning and you guys say I was out in like Jersey City gambling my life away or something like that. But no, it was a good time out in New York for a couple days and got to live the big city life there for a bit. Not for me permanently, but kind of cool to go check it out for a couple days. But yeah, like I said, refreshed, ready to get back on the mic here tonight. Got some takes to get off, got some season recapping to do. Pretty crazy event that happened in my life here. We got to just chat about it real quick. I was a viewer of the drones, saw the drones. So I don't know
That's
if
right.
I officially got to see some extraterrestrial life or what, but or shadow government at work here.
We're
But
under
yeah,
attack.
that was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. Yeah, that was crazy. So just kind of trying to, debrief from that. I was not abducted or anything of that nature, so we're still here. But yeah, kind of crazy. But on that note, I guess we'll turn it over here to our other co-host, Mr. Brian Eck. Brian, it's been a while. How you been, buddy?
I've been good, man. I've been real good. Busy with work, which is a good thing. Yeah, I was a little concerned when you sent it out of nowhere about these drones coming in on you, and you were kind of freaking out. And I was like, well, I thought I heard like the day prior they were out in New Jersey in swarms, and like the FBI was denying to comment. And I was like, oh shit, they flew all the way to Minneapolis, or they're just spawning in places in big cities. So.
Yeah, well, let me clarify real quick because the whole thing started when I was out in New York and I was staying with a buddy out there, and he had brought it up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing some shit on Twitter about it, but you never know, like you see stuff on Twitter, you don't know what's real, what's not, all this stuff, and and so we're chatting about it, and like he's got me all freaked out, on the plane ride home. So like I'm looking for him out the plane window, I'm in
Racing
tune.
you.
I come back home to Minneapolis. I'm talking to my girlfriend. I'm like telling her about these drones. She's like, get out of here. Like she doesn't really, follow the news and stuff. So she's just like, you're nuts, like, whatever. We live pretty close to the airport, mind you. And so Friday night I was rolling out. We're like, let's go grab some food and, just kind of hunker down for the evening. And we were talking about whether I should go alone or if she would come with. She's like, "Oh, I'll come with you." I'm like, okay. And as I'm sitting in my car, I'm just chilling. I look up. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" Again, mind you, we live right by an airport, so like, I don't know if I'm like totally in my own head at this point. I see this thing fly over, and I'm like, God damn, like that's not going to the airport. It's not coming from the airport. Like it was moving north, south, like and the airport is to the east of me. And it was really low in the air. I'm like, what the hell? So I joke, I'm like, I'm just tripping, man. Like something's off in my brain, like, whatever. And so she gets in the car. I'm like, you'll never believe it, but like, I swear to God, I just saw one of those drones that we were just talking about. And she's like, yeah, yeah, right. Like, yeah, right. And
Jeez.
we start driving to go pick up this food. We hop on the highway, and next thing you know, like there's probably 30 of them in the air that we could see. We're like, those are not airplanes. And
Like China.
we get off the highway, start driving up to the area where you go get the food, and like people on the street are, pointing and looking around. People are taking pictures. They're literally flying right over where we were, like in Minneapolis. And there was, I don't know, we probably saw visually, like I said, 30 plus of these drones just in like a very short amount of time, like maybe a 20-minute window, and then they were just completely gone. So
I don't, there's
yeah,
got to be, I don't look at the news
crazy,
too
man.
often either, but there's got to be some sort of explanation out there by now. I mean, it's been kind of going on
I don't
for
even know, dude.
a few
There really
weeks.
wasn't when Max gave me the call. I was, because I don't really follow the news. I was like, yeah, okay, okay, and then you're like, just, save the Snapchat I just sent you. And I watched that, and then he sent another picture. I'm like, yeah, that is pretty bizarre, and I know it's been happening all over. And I told my buddy that I'm
Really
staying with, and
bizarre.
I was in Madison at the time. I'm like, oh, great. The drones are in the Midwest. On the one weekend, I'm in another big city. Like, come on. Do I gotta load up
Yeah,
here and fire at them or what?
dude, it was
Yeah.
great.
We were
Just
thinking about it.
the timing of it all was so bizarre. I'm just talking about this like it's this kind of crazy hoax deal, and then we go outside and we like literally lay eyes on them. And I'm not bullshitting here. I mean, I got pictures, I got videos, like totally nuts. And so I started texting with all my buddies here locally, and a few other people saw them too. And obviously then the conspiracy theories start flying out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're among us. I don't know what they are, but they're certainly among us, and it's a real deal. I don't know what to make of it all.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
mean,
wild.
doesn't Muskie Fool make that sticker with the aliens saying like they are real or something? Maybe you need to load up on those now. You're a believer.
Hmm.
It is, you're sick in the head about musky fishing when like one of my first thoughts, like, man, if aliens came down and took over the world, like that would really be a bummer for muskie
Musky
season.
fishing. Yeah.
Really put the damper on
A lot of
2025
things.
Got
season.
to make like a
Also
bulletproof
muskies.
boat. Yeah.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're musky friendly,
I
musky
would I
positive
would take
community.
us three on the boat and like one alien tries to abduct us. I think we could take it.
We can
Make it
convince
kind
him to come fishing with us and see if he likes it.
Max has been
Maybe he
trying to
doesn't
throw
have that
mitts
where
for a
he's coming
while
from.
now.
of. Yeah, what do you mean by that?
He's always putting them up. You'd like a good boxing match. I would take our chances against an alien.
I'm
I
not
don't
trying to
know.
fight any aliens, man.
They got some weaponry or something that could zap you. Who knows, man?
Nah.
Yeah, I will say this, like if the drones are aliens, kind of weak, kind of
Yeah,
weak.
very underwhelming.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking like Independence Day,
Judgment
giant
Day,
Mega ship.
Terminator. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
giant ship hanging over New York City. These were just
yeah.
little,
Like,
car-sized drones flying around at like not even that fast, like kind of underwhelming if
Mm-hmm.
indeed they are aliens like
Mm-hmm.
you think they would be a little bit
Dropping
more.
bombs. Yeah.
No, not
mm-hmm.
dropping bombs.
Jeez.
A little bit more, futuristic or something is all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I read
Yeah.
you.
All right. All right. All right. Well, before Rowan gets on here, I think we did kind of want to go around the horn, seeing as this is our last episode of 2024. So
Officially, yep. We're gonna be taking the
another
holidays off.
another year of Muskies on Tap, fellas. Quick round of applause here.
Yep, yep.
Got through it. Got through it.
Let's
I don't
go.
know if you
Yeah,
can hear that.
we're at like a year and 7 months or something.
That's
Something like
crazy.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty awesome. So what do you wanna go around the horn with? Like some sort of highlights or what are we thinking here? I mean, there's a lot of things that happened and we definitely highlighted a lot during our time, but maybe a favorite moment?
I,
Fish,
I got one for you guys.
you got one?
Well, somebody,
Let's hear
it
it.
might be a little controversial. I don't think we're gonna hurt any feelings here. Um, but somebody messaged me and they were like, "You guys should, how we do like Mount Rushmores for baits and stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that." He was like, "You should do your favorite podcast was of the year."
Oh,
I
Oh
kind of like
man.
that idea. So we could take
that's
a
gonna
a
take some
minute
thought. Yeah.
to
Right. I'd have to
maybe
look at the list,
mhm, mhm.
That would be tough.
Mm.
Yeah, we don't want to hurt any feelings because we had a lot of great pods, a lot of great
Yeah.
guests,
hmm
a lot of great
Yeah,
chats.
I think we're our listeners are a resilient bunch and people that we had on.
Yeah.
I'll start us
Yeah,
off. I'll start us
go
off, and
ahead,
then
man.
yeah, you guys can go a different. Oh shit, this is tough as I'm scrolling through it.
I know.
Um,
Get some honorable mentions too. You can
okay,
give some
okay, I'll
honorable
go.
mentions.
I'll go. I probably had the most fun, a lot of laughs when we had a full roundtable on episode 64. Michael Hansen, Phil Stodola, and Kyle Hunsitter. That
That
was
was a
just a
good
great,
one.
great pod. Great pod. A lot of fun. All those guys chatting and hooting and hollering, telling stories. Um,
But Kyle was on his way up to Vermilion.
I was gonna say we
yeah.
had we
He's
had him
like,
in the
yeah, we just
car.
left the bar.
Yeah, we're like, hold on, hold on. Well, I didn't. I didn't drink.
I'm
Yeah.
not driving. Are you
Yeah,
trying to
Phil.
incriminate yourself?
Them
I
like
remember that
talking
one.
Phil talking about his guide trip with Michael and
Oh
just
man.
guides guiding guides and oh man, that was just so good.
And then probably my most informational pod, maybe the one I took the most away from would be
Hmm.
talking with Jody Marler with Fish Camp Creative,
Ooh.
episode 60 if you want to go back, but just a really cool
Hmm.
guy to get on, someone with a totally different perspective, someone who's done a lot in the sport. He's really diverse in the sport, fly fisherman, muskie, hunting out west of Montana, build some crazy homes. So he'd be cool to have on again and just talk all sorts of topics.
Yeah, that one was awesome. 'Cause I think he was probably our would he be considered our furthest away guest that we ever had on?
Yeah,
Probably.
if he's because he lives in Montana, so
Yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
cool.
100%.
I really enjoyed that one. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we enjoy them all, but yeah, that was a good
Of
one.
course.
Um,
I think I got my number one for sure, and it has to be up there.
you're gonna
Sorry,
take
Max,
mine. I already know it.
if you're gonna pick if you're gonna pick it, sorry about it. It's gonna be up there no matter what. It's episode 54,
Mm,
Tadpole Powell,
Oh,
Tadpole
mm.
Sports. I
shout
had to
out to
pick it because
Apple.
I was right there with him, with the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Yeah,
We
he came
invited
into
him
the studio
over.
for that.
He was in-house studio recording. Had a great time. Um, I think that was for
God.
sure the number one of 2024, and I think a lot of people can agree. We got a lot of great messages on that, and we are for sure going to have Tadpole on again.
Yeah, he's Winter
Not sure
Blues. Have him
when.
over. Have him over
Yeah,
for a couple.
I think that would be a good one. We had some great stories with him there, a lot to take away, and just overall great guy. If you want to have a laugh or, visit him at Tadpole Sports anytime, he's there for the most part.
Damn, Gus, you definitely took mine. I luckily I did have a backup, so I came
Mm.
prepared.
Good, good,
I would
good.
say this one, probably just because of how cool it was the episode. Let me try to find exactly which one it was. It was episode 69. Nice. Uh,
Nice.
Tonka recap after Clayton and Nick
Oh, that was gonna be
won.
my honorable mention.
So
I
that
forgot
one
to
was
say
really
it.
fun just to just debrief on that, like after, close buddies of ours won
Yeah,
PMTT tournament and just
they
the
had a
vibes
wild
were
story.
wild story. The vibes were just very high. I think we were, pretty tuned up a little bit, having a good time on that one. So that was a blast. But I mean, all of our, all the repeat guests too that we've been really fortunate to have on. Obviously, we just had Greg on for the upteenth time, who's always a lot of fun.
I'm gonna
Guru
say, yeah, like
hopping on,
which
Schlabs
Greg,
and McLean.
which which Greg one do you wanna, pick? Because we had him on for the first time in January of this year, then we had him on again in August, and then we just had him on again. So,
First one was really good. I thought, I mean, they all were great. The first one with Greg was so funny because, we had just kind of got to know him fairly well after that first season on the PMTT. And then, we took us kind of forever to coordinate a time to actually get him on. Um,
hmm
and that first time I think just didn't disappoint because it's like, you meet someone in person, you talk to him at a bar or something, you're like, man, you'd be like an awesome guest to get on a podcast. And I never had any worry about Greg, but you just never know what you're gonna get. And you sit down for a quote unquote, interview, I guess you want to call it. But he like just had stories for days and you know.
What's what's our standing for most appearances? I know Guru's up there,
I
Greg, I
think
think
I would
Clayton.
say Clayton takes number one because I was gonna say in my honorable mention of their recap of the championship, we had him on just that previous weekend or week. I
Yeah.
Right.
remember like, oh, welcome back, and then I know we had him on.
He's got to
I
be at
think we
like
had him on
four or
miscellaneous
more, five,
in
six.
the summer. I know there was one day he was guiding and literally just like parked his boat here and had an in-house interview with him midsummer when he's getting on a bunch of big fish. We had Taylor's been on a few times. Taylor Flannery,
Kyle,
uh,
obviously, Kyle Freeges.
Kyle Freeges
When
multiple times.
him and Tyler hopped on,
Michael
that was a
Hansen.
blast.
Michael Hansen a few times. Rich Reinert now twice. So yeah, there's a good amount.
And coming up here, Rowan for the second time.
Hmm.
True. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a great year. Muskies on tap. A lot of fun doing this. I mean, kind of said it from the jump. It's been a lot of fun to do. As long as we're having a good time doing it, we're just gonna kind of keep it rolling.
Oh yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
Austin Wigerman, forgot to mention. We've had him on multiple times.
Yeah.
Well, he's always
Three this
like
year.
podcasts with Austin are always so good because every time you talk to somebody who like I like when you talk to Austin, it's so great because like when somebody's like around our age and has that much like just fire for the sport of musky fishing. Like every time
Yeah.
after I get talking to Austin, I just want to go fish the next day. And I'll be like sitting in
Hmm.
Minneapolis, just like, what's my excuse? Like I gotta go find somebody who's gonna take me out fishing. I'll drive to Eagle River right now, damn it. If I can go fish tomorrow, like that guy just
Yeah,
gets
right.
fired up to go musky fishing.
I completely
Yeah.
agree there.
Yeah. No, it was good year. All right, maybe some personal highlights from the year.
Man, that's
Mm.
tough. I mean, I think it was another great year of exploring. Uh, us together, myself solo, and also with the other friends and dad and stuff and whatnot. We found some pretty cool bites. We caught some fish in some lakes we've always wanted to finally catch in, very difficult lakes, finally catch some fish in. We were pretty stubborn on a few of them. Um, two fall highlights that I think we maybe mentioned that I just was really happy to get. And I figured they would happen on accident. Like they're never something you can try is that there's two trifecta days. One day where we caught one casting, caught one trolling, and caught one on live bait on suckers. That
Mhm.
was an awesome day. And that was guiding. And then the other one happened also while guiding. We caught a pike, a muskie, a regular muskie, and a tiger. Those three all in like 50 minutes, all on
Wow.
suckers in the fall as well. So that was pretty awesome. It was like, things that you didn't even think of that can happen, and then they just do out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, that was kind of sweet and rare.
Hmm.
So those are
Hmm.
great little highlights there. I'll try and think of some more. I know we had some really good bender weekends. Opening weekend was great. August bender week, I don't know, what was that, like 4 days, 3.5 days straight of hitting it hard. That
Yeah.
was super good. Um, man, I don't know. What do you guys got? Well, I keep thinking about something else specifically.
I was gonna say for me it'd be most memorable. It'd be kind of a tie between my biggest fish of the year, my PB,
Hmm.
and that opener. I think I caught 4 fish on opener. Couple really nice fish, and then a couple small ones, but some good paint jobs on them all. So,
Hot hand.
um, yeah, hot hand on opener, and then yeah, that one big fish there, Labor Day weekend. Um, Caught a couple over our August bender as well. You guys caught the big ones that weekend, so all those really were most memorable for me.
I know there's a memorable moment. It's kind of yours, Max, but even if you didn't pick it, I kind of want to re-talk about it. That Bender weekend when you did end up getting that big fish, everything that happened before that on just your luck, all the figure eights for these fish were just absolutely just going bonkers, but they were almost going like too fast. And then that one that like Brian, I wouldn't even say stole from you, but kind of did on accident though.
He was on a good stretch this summer, good streak, I should say, of typically Gus, I'm the one who raises them, you catch them, and this year I kind of was dishing them to Brian all summer long.
Yeah.
So
And
I
then the
kind of
musky
dished you
gods
the big one. I mean, at least I had
chased
it up
you.
for
first.
sure, yeah, it was like a little bit of retribution there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that one happened. That was pretty awesome.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I'd have to
What do
say
you what do you
my.
got, Max?
Oh, I mean, I'd have to say my highlight was probably Madison.
Dog. That's
Madison
you
Guys.
see
PMTT
you see how
probably.
long that took me to like process in my brain.
Yeah,
Like, when
same.
the
I had
hell
to
did we
look
go to
up. I'm like,
Madison?
what?
Oh yeah, we had a PMTT there where we botched a net job. What? All right.
Probably Madison was my highlight,
I mean,
but
hey, it's probably maybe most memorable. I wouldn't say a highlight, but
It's probably the
oh
most
man.
watched video we've ever had.
Yeah, all three of them.
yeah,
So
it's not a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Gus is sitting over there just scowling.
Goddamn.
Um, oh man, highlight of the year. It's it's really hard to say like one specific thing. I mean, obviously it was another great year on the trail. I would say the Muskie Battle, getting the invite, getting the nod to the Muskie Battle was really cool. Um, just getting out on the boat with some new people. I think this year was a big highlight for me. Just everyone from, the guys that took me out fishing here in the cities that were gracious enough to open up their boat to me and show me the ways of Lake Minnetonka, all the way to getting to fish with like, Kyle and Tyler up north and showing them some of the stuff we like to fish. Like I didn't realize how excited I would be to show people like the North Woods and some of the stuff that we get to go up there and fish and
Right.
some of our, lakes that we enjoy going up and fishing. That was really fun. But yeah, just overall just a great year. Got to catch a few nice fish. No real super tankers for me this year. Had a couple unfortunate mishaps with the big fish, so I'm hoping that I'm saving them for next year when it counts. But
For sure.
yeah, good time. That August Bender weekend was just so great. Us three and Clayton hopping in the boat, but just hitting it so hard for a couple days. Like, I know you guys laugh when I say stuff like this, but like as you do start to get a little older, those
Uh-huh.
weekends kind of get a little bit more few and far between. So you gotta kind of cherish
Mhm.
them. And I remember driving home, especially the way that weekend ended with the, I got to catch that nice fish, like you mentioned, kind of how it all went down. Like that was probably the best way to end like a long weekend of fishing is like last spot, catching the big one that we were after was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. It's hard to have it happen like that every time. So I know what
Nine
you
ninety
mean.
nine times out of
Cherish.
100, it doesn't.
Right. I know plenty of weekends we got that Sunday ends on just nothing, butt kiss. So,
Or a
um,
lost fish or something.
right. Just something to get on our nerves, for on the ride home or something. But yeah, no, I agree. Fishing with a lot of new people this year. I had earlier in the year had some good days with Curtis out in the water. Thanks Matt Vavrock for inviting me down and getting a muskie in frickin' March in Iowa and first Iowa muskie. Austin put me
Yeah,
on my first Illinois muskie.
Damn.
And then another,
Austin did that, right?
yeah, Austin Wiggerman. And then obviously we'll have Rowan on here shortly, getting me one of my few December muskies. So shout out to that.
Good to know the guide can still be guided. Let me drive the boat sometimes. Let me put you on some fish next year.
Yeah, I know. I think we
Yeah,
should
all
do
right,
that
all
every
right.
once in a while, Brian. Just like switch it up. Be like, all right, Gus, take a break, man.
Get to the
You're
front
on
of the
the boat,
boat.
Brian.
Get the pedal. Let me get the pedal for a couple hours.
I already know, Brian. This is gonna be after like 15 minutes. He's gonna be looking back like,
Uh,
"All right, what's going on? I don't know what I'm doing."
oh no, back of the boat with
Damn.
the monitors, dog. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, for
Damn.
sure, dude.
Gus thinks he's driving one of those drones. No one else can
Yeah,
fly on besides
god
him.
damn, I got my pilot's license.
No, yeah, I'll give you the pedal back there, and I'll just have the remote in my pocket, just making minor adjustments.
Then I'm just turning
Guy
on the
acts
engine.
like
Every
we
time you
were
turn in,
rotating for years.
I'll turn out.
Yeah,
Back in the day, having the trolling motor was like the shit position.
yeah.
No
In
one
the front of
wanted
the
it.
boat. No, it was in the front of the boat though. For
No,
like,
people wanted it, I
yeah.
think, because we had the trolling motor pedal in the front, so you'd want to
I
be that
thought when we
guy.
moved it to the back. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right.
Well,
You're right.
we did a few things. We would sometimes move it to the middle and add that cooler in that little 16 footer, and then
Hmm.
somebody would control in the middle. And then we started doing the back because it was the closest to our little 7-inch screen we had back there.
I'm guessing. I think I'm thinking more of like windy days when it would just be more so of a pain in the ass for boat control, and somebody would end up just like hand controlling it.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah, they
remember those a
barely ever
lot.
cast.
Yeah. Do it by hand.
You're
That's
going too
crazy.
fast. Slow
Yeah.
down.
I can't. There's a lot of wind. Yeah, those are the days.
Oh, good old
Blowing all
days.
over Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Well, I
Yeah.
will say, if we're leading into this Rowan talk, I was pretty jealous seeing the pictures that you were sending us, Gus. I think Max was too, but I've been kind of itching to do like a musky float like you guys did.
Yeah,
So
it
I'm
was
really
pretty
curious
awesome.
to hear how you guys, especially catching a fish this time of year, is even more impressive. So I'm looking forward to hearing those stories.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped when we got this put together, Rowan and and I was happy that the weather was good enough to cast. So that was really awesome. So I'm not gonna give away too much here. So let's just get Rowan on and get the deets and have a chat with him.
Fired up.
Anyways, here on the line, we got Rowan Stamm out of Southern Wisconsin. I know he said he's grabbing a tasty beverage. Forgot to mention in the intro, for the last pot of the year, I had to pick none other than the Busch Light Peach for my tasty beverage of the night. So, uh, Max, what do you got here real quick?
I have a pounder Corona Extra this evening left over from so quick thing
A
that
leftover?
yeah, my degenerate college friends and I, we do a pick'em league for the NFL every week. And whoever takes last out of all 10 of us has to videotape themselves doing a nice little monologue and shotgunning a pounder beer for everybody. So still at the age of 30 years old, we are sending each other videos of us trying to shotgun pounder beers, which typically doesn't go over very well.
Right,
And it's a
right.
really easy way to ruin a Tuesday night. But had a few Coronas left over, so figured why not. Rowan's coming on. I got to crack one open.
Oh, yeah. So, Rowan, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. A little sleepy. The warm, the heat after being out in the boat all day will put you to bed like nothing else.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
believe that. I wanted to go to bed as soon as we were off the water each time, but I was going back to hang out with buddies and I had to rally. Just keep
Yeah,
it
I'm
going.
surprised you made the drive home to Eagle River. I hardly made it back to Prairie.
I had to hammer a couple bubblers, contemplated getting more caffeine than that, but
Yeah.
I made it happen. Chick-fil-A got me through, Don't
Damn,
don't always
that's
have the opportunity of stopping at a Chick-fil-A in Eagle River.
That's
So
fine
Yeah.
dining for you these days.
yeah.
I know, right? Just load
You had to
up
have
on
been
a
stoked.
number one with a side of Mac. Can't get any
Mm,
better.
Ooh.
little Mac.
Ooh.
You're
Can't
trying to
skip
stay
on the Mac.
awake and you went a whole meal and a
Yeah,
Mac.
I would be hitting the toilet, pulling over.
It's one way to stay up.
Emergency stop.
Yeah.
So give us the lowdown, fellas. You guys linked up for a little December muskie fishing. How'd this trip come about? What did you guys do? And sounds like you were able to get the net wet at least once.
Yeah, we managed to get one out of nowhere, but lots of sniffers and swimmers, as I like to
Hmm.
call them, just
Cruising
hanging
by,
out.
drive-bys.
Yeah, waving hello and goodbye really fast.
What
Yeah.
were like water conditions, I guess just for everything. I mean, we're in mid-December here at this point. I mean, I would say 99% of the normal population of muskie anglers in Minnesota and Wisconsin have converted to ice fishing, and yet here you guys are just in a little tiny boat fucking around in southern Wisconsin.
Yeah, we probably could have been ice fishing for them. We could have just stood on the edge of the ice shelf and dropped a sucker right off the edge. We probably would have been better off than what we were doing.
Honestly, we contemplated bringing the suckers, but I
Yeah,
don't know. It was fun casting for him.
it is a nightmare in the drift boat to manage the sucker rod, especially
Can't
with that
imagine.
shallow water, and it just ends up in sticks all day long and dragging in the current behind the boat. A more creative guy than me would rig some rod holders and maybe planer boards or something to keep those things in the zone, but it's yeah, a little more than I felt like dealing with in mid-December.
That's fair.
We were just going on sheer manpower
Yeah,
to get her
exactly. No
done.
trolling motor,
Just
hardly an anchor.
yeah, an anchor that would kind of work.
Yeah, yeah.
So how was Gus as a boat partner this weekend? I know he kind of hit it a little hard.
It was pretty good. There's a slow start every morning, but once we got her moving, he hooked the only fish that ate, so it's hard to complain.
Slow start as in myself moving or the muskies moving.
Both.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't too far behind you there. I just heavily caffeinated as soon as I woke up. My poop schedule is still set up to summer musky fishing, not winter musky fishing. So I wake myself up like
Oh,
2 hours before daylight.
I would love if someone like not someone who doesn't usually listen to us hops on this pod and we're just talking about poop schedules. They'll be like, what the hell is going on?
it's this one or with Phil. Phil loves to talk about this too. So don't
Yeah.
lie.
It's
There's a science
important.
to it.
I mean, I can't go out musky. You get stuck in a boat all day and you got one knocking on the door. That's bad news bears. You don't
Yeah.
want
We've all
that.
been there. We've
That'll
all
take you
been
out of the
there though.
game.
Oh
Takes you
yeah.
out of the game quick.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I'm curious. I mean, Gus sent some pictures. I was super jealous because I've been wanting to get on the river and fish for some muskie. I mean, what kind of lay out the land for us? Is this like one of the bigger rivers in South Central Wisconsin? I mean, what kind of like depths are you looking in? Depths of eddies, that whole thing.
It's definitely one of the smaller ones, probably one of the shallower, smaller rivers in the entire state. Uh I think max depth is I mean right up by the dam. I think the deepest hole in the entire river is 10 feet.
Yeah.
And everything that Gus and I mean, Gus can attest, we were looking the muskies right in the hairy eyeball the whole time. They're like in 3 feet of water, gin clear. It's like, well, there they all are, and just sit here and
No
cast at
way.
them.
Yeah.
That'd be torture.
It's way worse than not seeing them. I'd prefer to just, like, oh, well, they're not biting today. I don't know where they are. It's like, well, they're right in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean by like you'd rather not see them. It's just like any day on a lake, you'd rather just have them appear at the boat and want to eat or eat out in the cast than have a dozen follows and they are lazier than all get out. But
Yeah.
no, the one that did come in and fire after the glide bait, just like you said, you literally said this that morning, like the ones that are going to eat, they just materialize out of like thin air, thin water or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Just
you think
just
you
come
can
out
see
of
everything in the river. It's like it's a different kind of frustrating. Like I said, you're kind of discouraged because it's like, how could I catch a fish if I can't see the fish? And then your bait touches the water and one just comes out of nothing and is, about to eat it.
yeah. They'd fly in behind it like way late.
Yeah,
They would do some goofy things on the
super
lures.
goofy things. And not really, it's December and they're still acting like December muskies and not eating anything. But when they fire up, I mean, that you had your bait in the water forever while that thing was following. It was like a 45-second interaction before the fish actually committed between when it first came after the bait.
Yeah, it did a so I mean we 100% touched on this last year when we first had you on, which we talked actually I think a good bit about December muskies where you would rather you would rather like hold your bait, like let a death pause or death rise or whatever, either 10 feet out or right at the boat, depending on the water clarity, for like 5 to 10 seconds, almost rather than figure eight, rather than
Yeah.
going around, because that's what they like. And that fish that fired up on it just loved that bait sitting there and doing nothing.
Yeah, you'd move it and it would swim away. And then as soon as he'd stop it, he'd be back over and ready to eat it again.
It was like a early May smallmouth on a
Yeah.
jerkbait.
Yeah.
That's how it was
Yep.
acting.
Yep. They don't eat baits that are moving this time of year.
Right.
All right. So, like, when you hooked the fish, I mean, obviously you guys were seeing a bunch of them. I mean, I guess, walk us through that, Gus. I mean, were you like fighting it in the drift boat, all that stuff? I mean, was it like a clean process or was it kind of a Chinese fire drill or
Surprisingly
what?
clean. I think during the fight, during this moment, Rowan, correct me if I'm wrong. Were we just straight up still going down the river? You had the anchor not dropped?
We were anchored up.
We were anchored up?
Yep, I was
Okay.
planning on jumping up and fishing as well because I was running boat most of the weekend. Gus did practice some rowing towards the
I
end
did.
there, but
Nice.
no, I think
Put his
I
ass to work.
just stopped so we could both fish.
Yep.
And I mean, right as I was about to stand up, it fired up, and then I just kind of hung tight until it ate, and then I mean, we had it in the net in like 2 seconds. It ate it, and Gus just swung it to the boat. It was very clean.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's overall super clean. That's right. You were literally dropping anchor and standing up to fish. Because I remember it was like my first cast in the spot, like we were already just kind of going through it. And like I said, it materialized. We could see it literally after like the second twitch out in the cast.
Yep.
Followed it all the way in. Could see it stop, could see it fire up, and like we said, it totally wanted the pause as opposed to the twitch. It didn't, hate the like it still knew the bait was there, but when it stopped, it loved that. And
Yeah.
since the water was clear, I didn't want to get it to the boat. So a little ways out, like 15, 20 feet, I just opened the bail and let the bait drift down current because now we're stopped. So the bait's just going to keep going. And I think as soon as I engaged the reel on that death pause, where it for sure was engaged with that, I gave it like just a twitch or two, a glide left and right, pause it again, and on that pause for a couple seconds, I just watched it swim up and just
Yeah.
engulf it,
I remember kind of
take it down.
thinking I watched your bait you open the bail and I was like, "Oh no, it must have left." And then you gave her the twitch and you're like, "Oh, here she comes. Oh, here she comes." And it was like, "Oh yeah, now it's going to eat it. Now it's time." There we
Yeah,
go.
it's just like talking through it, like it's just sitting there doing nothing. We're like, oh, she's coming. Yep, here she comes. Yeah,
And
and
you
it
had a
just eats
better
it.
vantage point than me, but the fish did like one of the weirdest moves I've ever seen when your bait touched the water. You like twitched it twice, and I think it did a full donut.
It
Like
did.
it seemed like
It
it
swirled.
swam in a circle.
I wonder if it tried to eat it when it hit the water damn near
It
or
seemed like it
something.
must have, or it was trying to. A lot of times in the river, especially with glide baits, you'll get them where they swing at it to like try and stun it. You'll get a big
Mm,
wide swing and they'll just completely miss. And if you leave the bait sitting there, they'll turn around on a dime and eat it again. And it's like they're doing the killer whale move where they smack it with their
Yeah.
tail and then come back and eat it. But
Muskies are wild.
yeah, I mean, it was weird. I just remember looking up and seeing a shadow like do a donut, and I was like, "That was okay. That was weird. Like, I haven't seen that one before. Different, but
I guess it's a good sign.
Yeah.
What
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, it is a good sign because this is the first fish of the day. Up until that point, we saw one cruiser drive by that just went by the boat, and I think we spooked it.
yeah,
And then that one just we could tell wanted to eat or do something.
yeah, yeah. And then I mean, how many passes did we make before we got another one to do anything? It was probably like 10.
A lot of passes, a lot of re-rowing back up.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing that.
row back up, sit down, eat your sandwich, drink a
Thanks for
beer.
doing that.
Yeah. Well, he taught me the next day. We were pretty locked in on the first day, and then then he taught me how to row a little bit on the next day. But yeah, I like that part. You redo the drift, and you don't want to hammer it like consecutively. Like as soon as you get up to the top of the run, you do it again. You just chill,
Yeah,
chat,
you just sit down.
eat
It's a totally
something.
different strategy with the drift boat. Like if we were in my boat on a river, you just rip over to a different spot when you want to take a break on a fish. It's like, oh well, these ones aren't having it right now. Let's drive back up and fish the first spot. But you're kind of constrained to just sitting there and waiting in the drift boat. It's like, well, we want to be here, so if we row past them, we can't come back. So we
Right,
might as well just sit here.
right.
So
And it's
how does
December, so
Yeah.
they don't eat
yeah
often.
Yeah, wait for the window to open. Don't leave fish to find them.
yeah 30-second window.
Yeah.
How does that small shallow river change throughout the seasons? I mean, in the summer, does it kind of bloom up or does it get a little murkier? And then, I mean, are the fish primarily always in the same sort of spots, staging spots? I mean, I feel like there's not a ton of acreage for them to move around.
This one's kind of a special case. The fish in there are transient. They're 90% of the year they're not in there because this river fluxes a lot. It'll go down to, just a piss trickle where you could
Yeah.
wash down the whole river. You couldn't even put a drift boat or a raft in it. You'd have to drag
Okay.
it the whole way. And then it'll jump up like way through the roof to be in, flood stage. And whenever that water gets high, they will run up out of the main river system and swim into this tributary. And that's kind of what you're looking for. And it's kind of it's a late and early thing where you get them in the first couple weeks of the season that are looking to spawn, and then they'll kind of drop back through that system and spread out. And there'll be a few in there in the summer, but it's not really something that I play with because it gets too hot and weed choked. And
Hmm.
I mean, the weeds will grow to the surface in the entire river. You couldn't even keep a bait in the water.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there might be a few in there, but you're kind of waiting for the end of year because we're pre-spawn now. Every fish that we're seeing is essentially staged to spawn or sitting there waiting for suckers that are also going to be ready to spawn pretty soon here. So
Hmm.
they kind of follow those suckers up as they stage to spawn and then just hang out there until the muskies themselves are ready to spawn. So it's kind of their overwintering spot. There's a ton of food in there in the wintertime. The flows kind of stay steady, all the weeds drop down. And the river that they are coming out of is just an awful place to be if you're a fish. They stock muskies in there, and they don't want to stay there. These fish will swim hundreds of miles to get away from the spot that they're putting them in. It's
Good targeted DNR stocking right there.
yeah, I really don't want to tell the people that are stocking that river how much that the muskies hate that river, but they they don't
Because
want
then
to
they'd
be
stop
there.
stocking it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'd stop having fish to play with. But they definitely don't stay where they're getting stocked.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
One thing that I have learned from you, Rowan, is just like there's obviously all these like main staple rivers in Wisconsin. I mean, obviously there's
Yeah.
like the two most famous would be the Wisconsin, obviously, and then like the Chippewa River, which those are two giant systems.
Yep.
But there is just river fish are nuts. Like they will go anywhere at any time, given any water
Yep.
jumps fluctuations, and they will move like no other. That's the one thing that I've really that's just amazing about these fish and how like how much fishing opportunity you have in southern Wisconsin if you just do a lot of homework and research. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it probably comes with a lot of days of getting skunked and being like, where the hell are they? You know, just as like you've figured out on some of these rivers when to go and when not to go
Yeah.
is highly impressive. That's a lot going on. River systems, you know, lakes that we got to deal with up here might have low water years and then it goes up a couple inches. Not rivers, not like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were watching it come up as we were out there. I'm sitting there
Yeah.
checking the gauge, like, oh yeah, it just came up 6 inches, and we were actively watching fish swim up the river as that was happening. I mean, the first
Yep.
day we saw nothing above the first fast, shallow spot, and then the second day there was what 3, 4 fish up there,
Yep. They were
which
making their way up.
yeah, and they'll do that. I mean, 2 weeks ago now, which is the last time I was on that system, all of the fish were at the top, and the water was super high, which makes sense. You know, they go as far as they can when the water's high, and then yeah, drop back, and all the fish drop back with it. They move around a lot of days of just seeing absolutely nothing in those kinds of spots.
Yeah. And then I guess as a long question for you to answer is that one thing that I also saw out there and probably in general as we talked about in other rivers that there's a lot of spots that just I don't know, at least I'm thinking in my mind where I'm like, damn, that looks like a good spot or that should be where some fish are. And then I know you just never know. You could catch a fish moving around or one time it's just sitting in that spot, but you were just kind of like, no, that's just like not a good spot. I've fished it many times. I've just, I've been by it and they just don't set up there for
Yeah.
some odd reason. But
Yep.
what would make like a good spot or maybe a poor spot in a river, say a smaller river system, not one of the bigger ones, but smaller.
Yeah. You kind of need something like actually different. A lot of these rivers down here have a ton of wood and a ton of like good looking quote unquote quote spots where there's a bunch of wood, there's a nice outside bend in the river or whatever, but it might not have like the right bottom composition or a deep enough spot or a slow enough spot or the bait simply just doesn't go there. It might be bugs are hatching or something's going on underwater that you wouldn't know about, but inexplicably some spots just don't have fish even if they look really really good. And in that particular river, the sand was super key. If you didn't have
Mm,
rocks and sand and a little bit of muck, it was kind of not worth fishing.
yeah.
But there's still exceptions to that rule for sure. It's not hard and fast across all of them. There's the river that we fished last year where we got just brutally beat down on. That whole thing is wood, and the entire river looks good. You could float down it and cast at sticks all day long. But the only place I found fish on that river this year was on a couple strips of just dead sand on the inside of the curve. You got the river turning, and most guys would fish the outside bend where all the wood is and the current and the deep water. And all these fish would be set up on the flat bank with no wood in the sand on the shallow side. And it would be so easy to go past that and never cast at them and never see fish. It's it's a weird game what they actually want to sit in.
So speaking of that, just kind of on how some fish acted differently this year. How was the year for you guiding wise? I know you and your buddy Derek dipped your toes into the PMTT this year as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was the season?
It was good. I think overall I did one of my better number years, but I think it felt rough the entire time. There was a lot of long days to get a couple fish. But then once it was all totaled up, you kind of look back and it's like, oh wow, we smashed them. But there's a lot of like 14-hour days with just nothing going on, which was I mean, you guys fished the first two PMTT events. That was brutal. That was
Those bites were tough.
it was like as tough as they
Toughest of the
get.
tough.
Yeah, the early season Madison thing was about as bad as it's ever been. That was a grind. That was enough to hurt anybody's feelings.
I still remember going into that. Yeah. So stop smirking, Max. I still remember going into Madison that I think we were told like all of May and that week leading up to Madison, there was like one fish caught in two different muskie leagues in
Yep,
like
one
5
fish.
weeks.
My buddy Brian's kid caught it. He's like 14 years old.
Nice.
It was just an
Makes you feel
absolute.
good.
Yeah, it was sweet that he was the one kid to catch the spring muskie in league, but it kind of goes to show how bad the fishing was, that it was just like some random kid caught one. You know? Like there's a bunch of very accomplished sticks fishing these leagues and no one was catching fish.
That's
Yeah.
They
wild.
just yeah.
Yeah, that was the time. I was bummed you and Derek couldn't make it to Tonka, but it was fun to have you guys hang out with you guys a bit down in Kentucky, and then obviously a little bit in Madison here and there too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I probably one of the harder times I ever laughed fishing the PMTT was when we were taking off at Cave on the second day. And we're coming out, and all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, "Is that Rowan launching his boat right now?" You and Dare just waving at us like absolute idiots.
Yeah. We can blame Ty Sennett for that one. There is an incident at the Moorhead family restaurant, but I was perhaps a little overserved that night.
Hey, that happens to the best of us, man.
What time did you get out in the water?
Well, what's takeoff like
7:01.
7 o'clock? Yeah, 7:01. We
Yeah.
forfeited because we were last in line on day one. I think there was 93 boats, and I think we were number 93. So
Yeah.
we got better starting position the second day, but we didn't show up in time to take advantage of that. We were still number 93 on day two.
No regrets though, right?
No, none at all.
Yeah.
I don't think we were really missing out on too much.
What was your opinion on Cave? Because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions. A lot of people just say, "Oh, it's so cool," but nobody says like, "Oh, I can't wait to go fish it." So
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky, the entire rest of the state of Kentucky loves me. I can go down there and catch fish anytime, go to a brand new fishery and have a great time. Cave Run is a fickle beast. I mean, we saw plenty of fish. We saw muskies the entire tournament. That was like it was the same thing as fishing with Gus this week. It was like, they're all right here. Should we run another lap? They just
Right.
weren't eating. It was so frustrating. I think that's just a timing thing. I mean, you get on Facebook right now and they're hammering them down on Cave.
Oh, the fall bite's like really good. It looks like
Yeah.
every year.
No, it would be awesome to be there down there right now. It's one of the most scenic muskie fisheries in the country. That's
Right.
Yeah.
what
That's
an
pretty
incredible
cool.
place to go muskie fishing. But like that spring bite, I don't know what you got to do to get them to stop doing that tournament that time of year, but that's the worst bite ever on Cave.
Yeah, it's mind numbing for
Mhm.
sure. I mean, that's
It
the best
hurt.
way I describe it. It's just like mind numbing.
That's just spring fishing. The spawn sucks.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
pain. But
And
there
we
is
went right
one.
from Cave to Madison, which was the same
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
same exact story.
It's
not
like
a
the
great
guy that's just like
2024 start.
just beat to shit, black and blue eyes, and then you're rolling into Madison and you just get even beat up even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get pummeled.
Just
Yeah,
getting
if you didn't like a bunch of spawning fish, let's take a bunch of spawning fish and a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Here you go.
Yeah. And like gin clear water than what it should have
Yeah. Gin clear water and muskies that are supposed to be in 5 feet of water, but they're actually in 25 feet of water.
been. Yeah, and they're raking out half the weeds. It's like, what's
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah, you're trying to reel a bucktail and you just get 5 pounds of floating vegetation. It's like, I
Sounds
guess
like
we
a
should
dream.
go throw pounders in 25 feet of water. I really don't know what's going on. What time of year is it?
Right. But
I
prior
think the
to oh, I was just gonna say, or go ahead.
I think the hottest fish that we had up during the Madison PMTT event was a really nice fish, probably mid 40s. It was on a pounder double dog in June. And it almost tried to eat it boat side, which
We
is
didn't have a
what an
single
odd fishery.
we didn't have a single pounder or even anything close to that size in our boat for that tournament. Like the biggest we were thinking about throwing was like a pit bull or a 10-inch tube at
Yeah.
biggest.
Up until that tournament, the only bites that I had on the chain were on pounders, rag beavers, and bucktails. And pretty decent sized bucktails, 9s.
It's just a wild bite for early June or even late May.
Those fish are so pressured. I mean, everyone and their brother knows that you go out and throw small glide baits and jerk baits, 9-inch suics, 6-inch squircos, stuff like that, and catch fish in the spring. And they've had it happen to them so many years in a row that it just doesn't work anymore. Single
Right.
eight blade are not effective anymore in the spring. It seems like you go down there with like a detonator on the first week of the season and catch fish more than you would if you were throwing double eights.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's
Duly noted for next year.
Yeah,
I'm for
yeah.
sure going to take that into consideration up here in the Northwoods. I've heard enough reports of big baits. I mean, obviously heard it on Backlash. Brad Hoppy talks about it literally every year.
Yeah.
He uses just big baits right out of the chute. So,
Yep.
why not?
Yeah, no, I mean I came out swinging with my normal, go up into 5 feet of water, fish the gaps in the weeds, first break, glide bait, small blades, and it just was we didn't even see a fish for like the first week of the season. And we deployed what Dara and I like to call the forward facing Ronar, where I stand up on the front of the boat and just start looking, and it will drive around like 4 miles an hour, and I'll just be up there. 11 o'clock.
Facing Ronar.
And
Oh my God.
it took forever to find one, which is you should be able to go around on the spawning flats in Madison in June and May and just see them everywhere. That was the play back in the day. Just drive around until you saw one, and then cast
God,
at
I mean,
it.
I remember that even the year previous when Gus and I went down there for the first time, we were just scoping out weeds just to see what they looked like, and we
The pockets in there, yeah.
saw a few just chilling up in there, and then this year we're like that spot. Remember that spot that we saw that really nice one laying up? Like there's nothing here, like there's no weeds, there's nothing. It's all
Yeah, they got rid of
gone.
them all there.
Yeah,
It was
weird.
the shallow bite did not happen this year. There were a few fish up in the weeds, and that was the kiss of death. That's what really killed us, and really could have thrown you into a funk during that tournament. Is we found a couple fish in the weeds before the tournament started, and we got way too hung up trying to catch those remaining 2 muskies that were sub 16 feet of water.
I literally, Gus picked me up from the launch. I drove from Minneapolis, and all we've been hearing about is how tough Madison is, how shitty it is. Gus picks me up from the launch. I'm like, hey, let's go fish that one spot that we moved a bunch in last year and go mess around in there for a bit, see if they're still in there. And it was like 20 minutes in, and I caught a fish. we're like, oh, this is gonna be easy.
It's
Like
like
we're out.
12 feet of weeds or
This
something
is
like
all
that.
day.
Yep.
And
Threw us off.
proceeded to not see another muskie in weeds for the next I don't know how many hours of fishing weeds.
Days.
That was the day that it was 2 days before the tournament. Dare rolled into town, and I was like, "All right, you pick the spot. Let's go pre-fish." I've been out there for 15 days straight. I'm not going to say a word about your spot choice. You just drive me to a place on the lake that I've been fishing, and we'll fish it. And he pulled up to probably my favorite spot on Lake Wabisa right out of the gates, and I was kind of giggling like, "Oh, this is hilarious!" Like, drive me to my favorite spawning bay. I haven't seen a muskie here all spring. Like, here's a great example of how there aren't muskies shallow. And I made like 6 casts with an IC7 and had like a 38 just plow me boat side. And I was like, oh Jesus, like they are shallow. So then we were like, well, this is plan A for the tournament. And then it was just like, oh, there are no muskies here. That was just we just
None.
got totally like I don't even. That was like
Bamboozled.
the worst carrot on a stick. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. It's yeah.
Yeah.
I got nothing to add there.
And then I further reinforced our bad plan, and Dare wanted to go even shallower, and he's like, "Well, let's deploy the forward facing Ronar and go find one." It was after tournament hours, and we were just at a loss. It was like just terrible. That was Saturday, and I was like, "Well, if there's a muskie shallow on the chain, it's right here." And we drove over there, and sure enough, like I jumped up on the bow and was like, "Yeah, there she is, right there." And laid up in the weeds. We went back the next morning during the tournament. She was still sitting in the same spot in like 6 inches of water. And we just burned so much time fishing for that one muskie. And it was the only one. There just weren't the mother load in the weeds like there should have been.
That's just wild. That's wild. I mean, on a maybe brighter note, when the season progressed, when did Madison get better?
About 4 days after the tournament.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. It was like literally the next weekend everyone started smashing them out there. I kind of immediately left. I was pretty done with fishing Madison by the time I was wrapped up with that tournament. But the
Mhm.
word on the street was that everyone got them pretty good on rubber out deeper on the edges. At that end of June time frame. Then it got really weed or algae bloom, nasty pea soup out there for a while. There were still dudes catching them. I couldn't bring myself to get out there. I jumped back on the chain in early September, and we had a great slop thing going for a while. Topwater and bucktails after dark in 1 to 7 feet of water. That was fun for a couple weeks.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a fun bite. I mean, happens for up here as soon as places kind of bloom up and it becomes late
Yep.
season. But yeah, that's kind of a what do you think gets them to really move up that shallow other than the bloom? Are there other fish you're seeing around that they're kind of chowing on, or
Yeah,
what
so
do you think pushes them there?
we get these little shiners in Madison. There's this never ending ball of bait that swims around the chain. And when those you get those cool nights in September and the first 6 feet of water cools down, you start getting nights in the 40s, 50s, even low 60s. And you get the shallow water to drop a few degrees. A lot of those minnows zip up into, you know, nothing inside weed edge on the
Mhm.
sand in a foot of water. And the muskies chase them right up in there and just swim through the school with their mouth open and suck down 10 minnows on every gulp. I believe they're called Brooks Silversides. They're a fall spawner. So we'll actually run into fish again shallow in November, October, November. All these minnows will run up the Yahara River to like Tiny Locks and stuff and move up in front of the mouth of the Yahara and all these shallow gravel spots. And you'll get fish again in like 1 to 7 feet of water.
That's wild.
So what's real quick before I forget, brain's not working great here at this point in time of the night. So I just wanted to ask about this. So they dumped a bunch of Great Lakes spotted strain muskies into the Madison chain. So now you're gonna have this like full cocktail
Oh
of
yeah.
different strains of muskies in there, just like
Yeah.
making mutt strains of muskies eventually. I don't know how that's all gonna work or if they even naturally reproduce. I mean, I've heard, I mean, obviously they do. There's tiger muskies in there, so there's got
Yeah,
to be
buddy got
some.
a 41-inch tiger this year out in front of
Yeah,
Holbrook.
I doubt there's. I mean, I don't know how like prolific the spawning is or the natural reproduction, I should say, is there. But yeah, you're just gonna have this cocktail of strains of muskies. Like all, in 10 years from now, you're gonna be like, what is this? Is this a spotted? Is this a leecher? Is this a
Yep.
scotty? Like it's gonna just gonna be kind of it's gonna be kind of interesting.
I'm stoked. I'm it's kind of long overdue. They've been telling us we're going to get Great Lakes fish for a few years now, and every year it's sort of like, well, we don't have any fish for you guys, and it's okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've been fishing another fishery that's been stocked with Great Lakes muskies for the past few years inland, and
hmm
it's awesome. Those fish eat. They don't do the Wisconsin thing where they just sit on their asses for 6 days and you drive by the same weed line. And it's like, yeah, there he is. Still sitting there, not eating anything.
How do we get that strain up north?
The
Yeah,
Rona.
right. I mean, the Great Lakes muskies have high metabolisms, and especially in fisheries that have a ton of little minnows, like the Madison chain does, like we were just talking about. Those fish are going to eat a lot, and when they get big, they'll get real big. And I'm the one thing I'm worried about is them just leaving, which is would be good for the stuff that Gus and I did, but they don't. The Great Lakes fish like to swim, like the Leech Lake
Yeah.
fish do.
Right, I'd imagine. I mean, they're used to,
Right.
Bay of Green Bay or Lake Superior
Yeah,
or something like
the
that.
the Madison chain's big enough where I don't think that they'll totally screw off and just start jumping dams and make it all the way down to the Rock and into Illinois and gone like some of the Madison fish have done. But
That's insane.
I do think that we'll find that some of them don't just stay where you put them.
That's a lot of money hopping over the dams every spring.
Yeah.
Put an
It's
electric fence up there or something.
I talked to the biologist a few years ago before he unfortunately lost his job due to the budget cuts. And they were discussing putting a pit scanner in the dams below the Madison chain. So the locks at Kaganza, the dam in Stoughton, and then the Dunkirk Dam. And that would essentially tell you, if a muskie swims through that dam from the Madison chain, you'll know that it did it, which is
Probably good information to have.
Yeah, it'd be really
which would
cool.
be really good information to have because there are muskies using the river and no one really knows exactly where they came from.
Can I talk about that real quick? Because I feel like you see so many people that will like talk about this online that like they'll say things that are absolute like they'll say it as absolute fact, but in reality it'll just be like maybe a like a just a small sample size of like their own personal experience.
Yep.
So it would be good to have actual like data
Hard
on
fact
some of that
data.
stuff instead of just like some guy being like, oh yeah, this and that or whatever. This happens.
Yeah, they
or that
totally
happens.
came from here and they totally did
Right.
this. And it's like, well, sure.
Like just because you saw one individual fish, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
When we talked to Dan Ole, he was basically like, yeah, there are muskies there. We have no idea where they came from. We don't know why they're there. And they just basically know very little about the population in the rivers.
Quick heater break.
No, I'm looking for beer. Making my way to the boat here.
There we are.
Yeah, that's so last thing on this stocking thing. So did they put the Great Lakes spotted in there because that's the only strain that was available to them to stock, or was it an actual like concerted effort to be like, yeah, we want to put Great Lakes strain in the Madison chain?
I think it's partially the Madison guys kind of crying for spotted fish. Everyone has been wanting leechers or Great Lakes fish and that chain for like 10 years now because everyone wants big muskies. It's a non-native fishery. They let you put whatever you want in there. So like give us the ones that are going to get big.
True.
And I think
Not
that's
wrong.
that's part of it. And then yeah, it's the fish that they can get because that's been our biggest struggle in Madison the past 5, 6 years now, is that they just don't have fish for us.
They've been stocking it with a little bit less, or
Yeah.
is it
The
slightly
past
less?
I mean there during COVID we got nothing from the DNR. And that was last year they really piled them in there. They kind of tried to make up for it, it seemed like.
That's good.
Yeah, really good because I think that really contributed to our lack of weed bite is we just had a lot of fish that had played that game and
Hmm.
we didn't have those dumb 36 inchers that would go sit up in 10 or less feet of weeds and chow bucktails early in the year.
Hmm.
We were left with a bunch of 40 to 49-inch fish that want to sit a little deeper, and they've been caught in 5 feet of water every season since they've been put in that lake, and they just kind of don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and the Madison chain, it's like how much pressure it gets. The spots aren't. It's. I feel like it's hard to have. It's hard for them to go hide there. I mean, it's just like it's not a complex.
It's
And
not
I'm
a
talking at
fish thing.
somebody who's been there only twice, so I shouldn't say that as like a general. But to me, at least as a novice person in Madison, it's never really seemed super.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's extremely self-explanatory. There's 6 spots on both lakes. I mean, you just
Hmm.
go to the place that looks good, and there should be muskies there, and that's what's gotten hard is there's not muskies in the spots that should have muskies. And there's always a couple bites that always pop off every year and seemingly will forever. It's amazing how many muskies get caught right in front of the boat ramp at Olbrich every year. But it a lot of those classic bites just didn't happen. And I think the fish are using a lot more B and C spots and staying deeper and using open water more. But even that, I mean, there's guys with 2, 3 live scopes. You can go out in open water and find
Yeah.
them. It's not like they can hide. I don't really know what's happened to that fishery. It's really doing its best to mille itself.
Yeah. Self implode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's trying really hard. I,
Uh,
I tell everyone like 5, 6 years ago, you could just go drive out of the boat ramp on Monona or Wabisa, put your boat in 5 to 8 feet of water, and go left and or right, depending on which way the wind was blowing, and you would catch muskies. Have one guy cast deep, one guy cast shallow. It's like the only strategy you ever needed, and it's just not. That doesn't play anymore. You actually have to think about it, which kind of sucks.
damn.
Right.
I
Rather just
really
like have
don't
it.
like thinking about muskie fishing. I'd prefer to just go catch them.
Sounds
Prefer to
nice.
underthink as in overthink. Yeah,
Yeah,
we had that discussion this when we were out on the boat, whether to overthink the musky fishing thing or underthink it, like which is more productive. And
yeah.
it's like we're
Sometimes
switching
it seems
baits.
like nerd, nerd,
Yeah.
nerd. Throw the same bait. Don't do anything. Just pound them,
Yeah.
pound the wall, bang your head on the floor until they start biting.
Yeah. So it's like when we were fishing is freaking December, so you already know that they're gonna eat once, if you're lucky, twice a day, and honestly, potentially 0 times a day. So as soon as I was switching a bunch of baits, I'm like, why don't I just put on a glide, the one that we know they're gonna eat,
Yep,
and just use it?
yep.
So,
And the thing is,
so
they
you,
didn't eat any of those baits. They probably
it's,
they probably would eat a topwater. Like those muskies that we were after. Like there's not a doubt in my mind that the muskie that you caught would have eaten a flaptail. Like
That's wild.
I
Yeah.
still think it would have done the same thing to any bait. I don't think that it was that glide bait that made that muskie eat the bait.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got a point there. It seemed like when they wanted to fire up, I mean, that other one that I raised that was just doing some crazy things on a freaking, I mean, the only jerkbait I remember to bring was a 9-inch grandma, which digs a little bit deep for a super shallow river. So I had to keep it up. I was just banging bottom, and that fish was just going bonkers for it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't eat it. It was just
And
going left and right and following it. And
you'll have the outlier like that seems like they get real horned up on a singular bait.
hmm
But that just seems like it's a one fish thing. And they're like it didn't really help us in the end of the trip. It wasn't like, oh, they all love 9-inch trolling lip grandmas. Now we know the secret. You know, it was like one muskie really liked that bait and it didn't like it enough to eat it. Like,
and it ended up not being the end all be all secret bait
yeah,
of the days.
it's just a stay. If anything, we probably just hit that fish too many times, and it would have eaten that grandma if we'd only casted at it twice instead of casting at it 100 times.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, how'd you do on the fly this year? I know you said you caught the most fish you ever caught in a season, but how'd the fly perform? I mean, what'd you learn? How were the fish reacting to it?
I had a terrible fly year. I personally didn't throw a lot of flies. I ran a lot of fly fishing guide trips, and most of the trips that I ran, we had decent success. They'd usually get like at least an eat or two a day. Most of them get farmed, trout sets or just
Yeah.
other forms of whiffing. But but no, I did a lot of preseason fishing this year. I went down to Kentucky and Illinois a lot, and we
hmm
smashed them on flies down there this year. The first day that I fly fished this year, we put 6 in the net,
Jeez.
and
That's awesome.
then all of the Wisconsin season, I would throw a fly here and there and just sort of be like, I'm not feeling it, and then go back to bucktails were just kind of the star of the show the whole year, and I hate throwing bucktails. So you know the bucktails bite. You know the bucktail bite's good when I'm catching them on bucktails.
Yeah, I always feel like everybody, especially this year, it just seemed like pressure is more and more a problem, or at least more people are talking about it. So like when you're thinking of ways to mix up a bait, nobody's really throwing the fly. So in my head, it's
Yeah,
always like it's got to be a great alternative, but were the fish not, I mean, chewing them like they should be or have in the past?
I'm not sure if it was that or if I just didn't throw it enough.
Yeah.
I think I'd give it a chance on the days when it was tough, and then it was just still tough because
Yeah.
when the fishing's bad. There's rarely a secret.
In
There's
my, in my head, I'm thinking like you guys are talking about all those fish you see in the clear water sitting in 3 feet, just beached up. I'm like, God, just dangle a fly over his nose. Surely
yeah.
he'll open it.
We tried
Oh,
it.
we did it. I mean, Gus learned to row so I could drop a glide fly on those things. I went over 2 muskies in one cast that I could visually see, like 3 strips apart. And I'm like, yeah, I just went over one. I just went over another one,
Didn't
and
even
neither of them
flinch.
didn't
Jeez.
even move. It's
I'm
like,
like ready to drop anchor or something like that. And he's like, no, just keep going.
yeah, like,
That sucks.
whatever.
I love the tip here is there's no secrets, just keep fishing till
Just
something
keep
Keep
happens.
fishing.
casting.
I truly like pick the bait you like. I've a good buddy of mine that when they were learning how to musky fish, they'd only been doing it. I think it was the first season they ever went. It was mid-December, about the same time frame. Throwing double tens in the river because that's the only thing that they know how to throw. One of the only 5 baits that they own, and they have a muskie come completely unglued and catch it in the figure 8 on double tens with 34-degree water temps. So
No
it's
Why
rules.
like,
not? Why not?
why not? Exactly. Like when people are like, "Oh, well, this is the only thing that works. This is the only thing that works." I'm like, "Nah, is
Beg to
it?"
differ.
Not so fast.
What's up with the stocking situation above your head? Actual Christmas stocking,
Oh
not
yeah,
musky
oh yeah.
stocking.
Those are for this guy.
Nice.
Nice.
The girlfriend's cat stockings. Put some. I think I'm gonna just put like suckers in there or something live.
Let them find
5
it.
animals.
Get some frozen
flop around.
Cisco's and stuff them in
Yeah,
there.
frozen Cisco's. I hear DNS has herring again or smelt. Yeah, pickled smelt.
Some smelt. Oh,
Yeah,
There
I'd
you
love
go.
that.
Nice.
we had
All
a
right.
we had a cat incident today. My buddy who I was fishing with brought his dog over, and one of them scaled the blinds and ended up like on top of the windowsill with claws dug into
A
the
dog?
the
Claws.
dog chased the cat,
Oh,
and
it was the
Oh,
you know
cat.
oh.
I thought
tail
the
is over
dog was
time.
scaling the wall.
No, no. So we're definitely not gonna put any griffons in the stockings this year.
Yeah.
Good idea. That's good stuff.
But I maybe owe them a treat after the scare today.
Yeah. Calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you planning on fishing PMTC next year?
I don't think I am as of now. Uh that those plans could change. It sounds like Dare is out, so I'm partnerless.
Brian?
Unless you want
Let's
to team up, Brian.
Yeah,
Brian?
there we go.
Brian?
Potentially,
go.
yeah.
What do you think?
Where
Brian?
ready to run the trail? Where would you want to see? Let's say they don't go, or I mean, they're gonna probably, but where would you rather see them start the first two legs, other than Cave and Madison?
Oh man, I would love to see another Southern Illinois Q1, like Kincaid or
Kincaid.
something would be sweet. I hear there's some big fish down there these days, and it's another shad fishery, another weird southern reservoir, but it should be a little in a different stage of the spawning process. So that would be kind of fun. Iowa would be another cool one to start on. Spirit Okoboji would be a sweet Q1. The the Madison event, what now is Madison. It sounds like they're going to Northern Wisconsin this year, which is awesome. But I'm not sure. That's a tough time frame. It's kind of like nothing is really quite in the.
Would it be fine if they just did later June in Madison?
It would be great if they just did later June in Madison.
Why do they not do that? Why do they just randomly put it early June when it went to
I'm not
Madison?
sure. I like if they could do it. Well, the issue with Madison is it could be just awful. Like if you put it 2 weeks later, it could be 85 degrees in Madison.
True.
Oh, yeah, I guess it could be a nightmare on the lakes with just everybody and then
Every
put 100 boats
boater,
on there.
algae bloom to no end, weed, cut weeds. That is a good time frame for trying to avoid people and everything else.
Hmm.
But no, I mean that's kind of a tough time. Nothing in Minnesota's or I guess Minnesota opener is the week before they have that Madison tournament. But that still wouldn't be really my favorite thing on earth to do would be to go up to Minnesota. Tough
Yeah, I
question
mean,
on the June one. I really that's always a time of year when I have no idea where I want to be. Like
yeah.
I kind of am just on the river in southern Wisconsin because the water's usually high and I can usually catch a couple fish. But there's never really like a destination where I'm like dying to get to Minnesota like I am in September.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it seems the case anywhere, even the people that go to Canada on opening weekend sometimes smash them, but it's more or less like a grind, you know?
Yeah, it's not an easy time frame to catch muskies.
No, not under tournament, protocol and timing and stuff like that.
No.
They just X-nay the June tournament, just go from spring to Minnesota in August and then do another leg in September and then they have the championship in October.
Do
I
a
don't know.
late November championship.
Somewhere out,
Well, if they
yeah.
move it down to Cave, it would be sweet, right? Like they did the championship in Cave in
Yeah.
November or something
Yeah,
like
or
that.
like
That'd be great.
Stonewall or something in like West Virginia or
Yeah,
I
you
mean
got
there's a bunch of places in
Virginia,
Ohio now.
Ohio, Pennsylvania,
It sounds like
True.
most of those Ohio fisheries are
Chautauqua.
just too small to have a tournament on.
Hmm.
Like
Oh,
you
okay.
just couldn't really spread out 100 boats on a 2,000 acre lake. You know what I mean?
Fair.
That's fair. Well, they just used to jam them on the Eagle River chain.
Yeah. Yeah, or I mean Spirit Okoboji aren't big ones. They've run tournaments out there. I definitely don't need to see another Green Bay tournament.
Worst results ever.
Yeah, we don't need to run that back. I mean I personally love those when I go on a destination trip, I'm trying to go somewhere with giant muskies. So if I was to,
Yeah.
get really stoked about a PMTT trail event, it'd be sweet if it was somewhere with giant muskies. So my brain always kind of goes Minnesota.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Get us back to Vermilion.
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed that we didn't do Tonka and I didn't do Minnesota at all this year. I didn't even buy a Minnesota license. That's normally I go up there a lot.
Yeah, I'm weird. I think I'm in the well, I don't know for a fact if I'm in the minority, but I do really like Tonka. So
Tonka's awesome.
I
It's
think
such
Tonka's
a cool
great.
fishery.
I mean,
It's it's Madison but better. It's
yeah.
like if Madison was good.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets hard here during the summer for sure, but like
Oh yeah.
every time I was up
Everything does.
there after September, it was just like fun. I mean, even our little Bender mini weekend, Gus, Brian, and I did, we never really recapped that all that much because we haven't been on together in a while. But I mean, it wasn't, it was a letdown for what it could have been, but like it was still, it's crazy going there and seeing, a bunch of fish and,
Yeah.
some nice stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Every time I've been to Tonka, we see an absurd number of fish. We rarely catch anything, but
Yeah,
it's
they're
great to go
there.
up, see a bunch of them, and have chances at at big ones. That's same as Madison now. There are big fish out there. It's fun to go chase them around, even if you don't catch them.
Yeah,
No
it's
doubt.
just it's unfortunate. It seems like these new fisheries or fisheries that rely on stocking heavily, like Madison and Tonka, like we were talking about, is that when they're at their peak, the biggest fish in the systems are like mid to upper 40s, maybe bigger. And then now that the fish have like maxed out, they're all just stupid smart. But
Yeah,
there's the biggest fish
so hard to
ever in
catch.
there,
Yeah,
like giants,
yeah.
like 54s and stuff in Madison that are just going to almost never eat a bait until they
Someone
die.
someone will catch a 55, 56 inch muskie in Madison in the next couple of years. I
Yeah, a leecher will definitely
guarantee
get
it.
that big.
Yep, it'll happen in short order. I'm really not. I've heard number of 54, 54 and a half people calling those numbers. I haven't seen a confirmed one. The biggest confirmed muskie I know about in the chain is 53 and a half, which was in Noah Humfeld's boat a few years ago.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
that's what's considered the chain record. But I personally saw a photo of what a guy claimed to be a 55 and a half. I've heard a number of 54, 54s, 54 and a half, right in that range. But yeah, I mean it's gonna happen. Those fish will get to that range and they will be caught. It's just a really mind-numbing place to go. It's turning into Mille Lacs. If you want to go out there and just beat your head on the wall and swing a pounder all day and wait for the one bite, that's what you're
Hmm.
playing with now. Instead of it used to be a great place to go get a first time muskie angler some interactions. You just go out there and see a bunch of 40-inch fish or 36-inch fish and probably catch one on a bucktail or at least have one bite. And now it's kind of like, well, I'm gonna go out on the chain and try and catch the biggest fish I've caught maybe ever, but I probably won't catch one for the next 2 months.
PMGT, if you're listening, you need to be listening. Don't go to
Yeah,
Madison.
yeah, it's tough. I mean that body of water has really taken a turn. It went fast too. I mean, I remember listening to like Backlash podcast not 5 years ago, Jeff Hansen on and Jeff Widman going down there to fish late season, and everyone would be talking like, "Oh, these are the heydays of muskie fishing. Like we are living in the heydays. This is the best. We've got the best equipment. We've got more muskies. everyone will say back in the day, but right now is when it's going on. And then it's like 5 years later and it's a totally different tune from across the Muskie Range. Everyone's like, it's as bad as it ever has gotten.
Yeah. This year, I truly feel like this year just like broke some people's brains.
Oh, it hurt. I mean, it was
Yeah.
painful. There was times where I was just like, I know you're here. What the hell? Like,
Yeah, I don't know if it was like the uptick in the technology usage or what. Like there was always like crutches. I think people, definitely were kind of getting up in arms about. I think maybe at the end of the day, like fingers crossed, it was just an off year, but there's probably a lot of factors at play. I'm sure
yeah.
there's real things going on. I mean, there definitely is. But yeah, this year more than ever I've ever seen it, where it just felt like people were just like wanting to smash their keyboards trying to respond to people and
Yeah.
stuff like that, trying to pinpoint what the reason is for these
Why it
quote
sucked
unquote
so bad.
yeah, why it sucks
Yeah.
so bad.
It
It's
was
like
terrible.
yeah,
It was so bad. I mean,
yeah. The pressure thing, I know it's such a valid complaint when you're out on the water, but like if you really think about what you're complaining about, it's so funny because you're like, hey, like I can be here, but screw that guy for also
Yeah.
being here.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
screw that guy for
Yeah.
also being here too. Like, and then those guys in that boat are saying, screw that guy for being here. Like that's what pressure is,
We
So
should
it's
all
so
quit.
funny.
Like, if we want
It's
muskies to bite, we should just not fish for them.
Yeah.
It's like, back, this lake I used to, fish here and no one would fish here. And, now
Yep.
there's 3, 4 boats and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, like that, I know that would definitely sting, but it's just funny to think about where it's like, well, it's okay that when I was just here, but now that like another person's here, just it's not cool, It's just
Gus
kind
and
of
I had a lot of conversations about that on the spot we were fishing this past week because it's a small spot that a few people know about and they're all extremely protective about it. But
Mhm.
it's funny because everyone in southern Wisconsin knows that those fish exist, and 10 people fish for them, and all 10 of those people think that they own those fish and that spot. And if they see one of the other 10 people, they're going to be so pissed, so angry, like fist fight angry about it.
That's hilarious.
I
It's
know,
hilarious. And it's like,
just
we all know they're here, man, and they're stocked muskies. They are literally like, it's like the Great Lakes steelhead argument where people are like, oh, don't fish for them when they're spawning. It's like they put them in the river for us to catch them.
And take them.
Like there is no other reason for muskies in southern Wisconsin. The only reason that there are muskies in southern Wisconsin is so people can catch them.
Yeah.
If we didn't catch them, there wouldn't be muskies in southern Wisconsin. So every time someone complains about pressure, I'm just like, shut up. Like we wouldn't have any then.
and like it is annoying. Like it totally is.
Yeah, it
If you're
sucks.
trying to fish a spot and somebody else is, it's totally annoying. It's just, but like when you really boil down to what you're pissed about, it's so funny because you're just like, well, I want to be here,
Mhm.
so like that guy can't.
And anecdotal evidence, but like what Gus and I were dealing with, we caught that fish, we cast at him 100 times, and then we have another one like almost try and eat it. They know we're here. They know what our baits are. You know what I mean? Like we're in 3 feet of water. I've ran over their heads like 50 times. We actively spooked them. We actually rode up on top of the ice shelf, smashed the ice shelf on top of their heads, and then immediately rode back up and fished them again, and they started eating.
That's hilarious.
The
Just
pressure
got to
doesn't
destroy their
exist.
home.
Yeah. No, I mean, Brian and I were cracking up about this. And like, again, I totally, recognize that it is an annoying thing. But like when you're hearing all these people bitch about Canada this year and the pressure, it's
Yeah.
like, well, like,
God damn.
you don't own Canada.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just-
Oh, back in the day, no one would come up the Lake of the Woods.
Yeah. First of all, you
man.
got fucking 100,000 acres of water up there. I get there's not muskies in the whole thing, but there can be. I'm sure there's muskies in every corner. Find
Yeah.
a new fucking spot.
Well, I said it to Gus in the boat this week. I was like, I think people who complain about pressured fishery just don't know how to trigger fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone who like loves a fishery or like loves an unpressured secret little gem, they just reel bucktails and fish
And
topwater.
they eat them.
And they eat them. That's why people love spots. It's like, oh, like I can go up there and just straight reel a bucktail or a Dr. Evil and catch muskies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, that doesn't work in a place where they've seen that a million times. Like, if you know how to snap rubber, you're gonna still catch fish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, be
Mhm.
better, do better.
I think it's one of the reasons why I'm so thankful
Exactly.
we grew up fishing the Eagle River chain because we just never got, crazy spoiled with like ever having our, anything to really call our own per
Yeah.
se. It's like
No, it was already pressured. It already's had tournaments for years.
It's
There's a
like
bunch in there, but they're not big. It's like it was perfect,
Eagle
Yeah.
River chain's like a
Catch a
great
couple.
study for pressure, though. It's like it's always been like beat to hell. Whether it's like an average Joe muskie angler throwing a bucktail or not, they've seen a billion baits forever, so they're like over the pressured phase. They just eat regardless.
there's so many good
Always
anglers who
been,
fish that body of water year in and
yeah,
year out, and every
same
year
spots.
same spots. Yeah,
There was not a single spot that like I guided on out there that I didn't see another boat fish at least a few times that same week,
Yeah.
day even. It's just how it
Yeah, no.
is,
That's how it is.
you know.
Muskies still eat things. They're not
Yep.
their
Just
brains are
timing
not
and
that big. Their brains are so small. I promise you that they are so much smaller than ours are.
yeah,
Yeah, I would
you are
think.
correct.
yeah, it's a good point.
We just need to
Try
get
so hard.
we need to get megaphones on the boat or something and start like messing with people who are on your spots. Like, hey, motherfucker, it's my spot. Get out of there.
I own Catfish Lake.
I fished that last week. Give me it.
All right, it's decided. Brian and Rowan gotta fish the PMTT together.
With a megaphone.
It'd be a
Yeah.
freaking menace out there.
That
Oh
would be
my
a
I would
God.
not want to
problem. We'd
fish
be
near
kicked
them
out.
in the tournament.
We'd
Yeah.
be DQ'd first round.
Yeah, you either win it or you get DQ'd.
Yeah, that's exactly
No in
how
between.
that would go.
Or
That'd be
yeah,
so
sleep in
good.
too late, launch the boat at 9.
Yeah. God, I wanted to do that in Madison. I was like, we should just get out there at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Go
Like,
hit the
I'm not.
burrs and get up late.
Just screw it.
Oh man, that's so funny.
It was not a morning bite.
No,
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever been more frustrated though than being right at the end of that tournament and watching you guys hook one right next to me. I was like, all right, I'm done. I've had enough.
And we never even drifted that spot ever. That was just guesswork.
Oh my God,
basically.
we had
It was
drifted that like
stupid.
50 times. Like we had lived in that spot.
We
That
didn't
week.
know you were over there because we started far away upwind and then just let the wind. It's just like we just let Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
literally
exactly.
yelling like I don't even
Yes.
can remember what we were yelling, but like, we can barely even talk to each other. And Gus and I are just hucking baits like 300 yards downwind.
Yeah, we're drifting
And
downwind at like over a mile an hour, chucking baits as far as our spools can go. And then we see Rowan and Dara trolling motor on 9.5 going upwind.
Yeah, yeah, spot
just
locked on this
working
hole.
So
pounders
windy.
like their life depended on it. I like look at Gus, I'm like, who the hell are those guys? Like they're going ham.
I'm like,
And all of a
oh,
sudden
that's
Gus goes, oh,
Dara's
that's
boat.
Rowan and Dara. Just start geeking out. I'm like, fucking respect, man. They're just giving it to the end. And we were
Well,
so lost. And
we
then all
gave
of a
it
sudden...
past the end on day one.
Yeah.
Fucking,
Oh, you forgot. You
we're
thought it
like,
went later.
yeah, I'm like, it's 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm like, hey, Dara, does the tournament end at 4 or 5? And he's like, it's 5. It's 5. And I was like, cool. Just like reeling a bucktail. Tournament ended 45 minutes ago. Like,
I'm shocked you didn't catch one then. Out of
I'm
tourney
so
hours.
shocked. I'm so glad.
You
I would have been
called
just
Tim.
so defeated.
Hey, we got a fish.
Yeah,
He's like in the
exactly.
middle of the freaking day one recap. His phone rings.
Oh God. Yeah,
Already
we missed
announcing leaderboard.
the whole recap because we were just still fishing.
Oh God, so
Whoops.
Still
funny.
giving her.
I guess the mental image of you guys pulling in at that massive cave launch right as we are taking out was hilarious. But yeah, the Madison one was actually funnier because like that just gale force winds. You guys are up there just hucking and just ripping your hearts out, and
Yeah.
Gus and I were just cracking
Already
up. And
well over 15 hours of tournament fishing in and still at it.
just
Yeah.
still grinding. Oh,
So
Yeah,
awesome.
that's spot where we were. There's a sunken ice shack. And that's
No kidding.
what we were spot locked on is that ice shack. and that's where I had the one on the Pounder Double Dog come up, and another tournament boat kind of told us that was their plan A, and it was kind of our plan C, but we just ended up living there.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that fish was sitting in that Gus raised and had eaten the eight, but that thing was like I thought I was seeing a CGI muskie come out of the depths because I'm like, that is not real. Like this
Yeah,
is
there's
not
no way
happening
that
right
there's
now.
actually a muskie in the
It's
lake.
like a mid 40s just appearing out of nowhere and him just being like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So what do I do again?
I forgot what
Big
these things
circle,
looked like.
big circle
Yeah.
right into the engine. Ruh-roh.
Oh,
Oh man.
That really
Good thing
just
we
put
only
the icing
yeah.
on the cake.
yeah. Yeah, that tournament was a dick punch all
Yeah.
around.
Mhm.
Don't you want to fish PMTT, Brian? We're making it sound pretty fun.
Yeah, no, you guys are good salesmen
But
for
we wouldn't have
sure.
these memories.
Yeah.
I would definitely love to, an excuse to go to Vermilion. I don't know about Madison Chain or Cave, but
You would love
Vermilion.
Cave. Like you would love Cave.
I'm
Outside of
sure
the
I'd
fact that
love
you probably
it.
wouldn't catch anything.
You would.
Yeah.
You would find a damn good bite there because there's a few that always go on.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like you
I'm
would
fine with
actually
it.
thrive in Cave
Just like what you use
because it's like
bait
bass fishing.
wise. Yeah,
Yeah.
Spinner
Maybe.
baits and little glides and
yeah,
weird
like
stuff.
Brian, remember when we would play that bass fishing game on GameCube where we're at that lake with like standing trees
Oh
and you
yeah.
throw spinner
That's the
baits and stuff in
best.
there?
Yeah.
That's
It's
cave.
like that, but Kentucky and the water's dirty and you have
But
no idea if
Kentucky.
muskies are there.
Takes you 3 days
Fucking
to figure out if there's muskies in there.
Yeah, you see a mark on side imaging and it's like gar question mark.
Carp.
probably a
There's
gar.
anything.
Yeah.
That was
They
our
Oh,
would
biggest
surface.
argument pre-fishing cave. Is Dara thinks everything is everything on side imaging is musky, and I think everything is a gar. And it's just like, no, no, yes, no, no, yes, no.
oh, good stuff. Well, we hope you find a partner, whether he's sitting in this Zoom call or not right now. It'd be fun if you did it again. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know, what the turnout's going to be for our Eagle River crew next year. So it'll
yeah.
be,
I definitely will be back at some point, whether it's this year or not. Who's to know? But I definitely want a little redemption. I was so excited because it was like, oh, this is an easy schedule for us. Like it's all lakes that we've fished before, close to home, other than Cave. Like this is a cakewalk to jump into, and then it was just the worst bite in PMTT history.
Doesn't help.
Yep.
No, I
Not
kind
at
of got
all.
what I asked for. I was saying before the tournament, Dare and I both were like, "Oh, just give us a tough bite. We all have to be out there."
Yeah.
Like I'd take a tough bite over a hot one where everyone's catching fish every day. But then it happened, and it was like, "Please, Lord, just let them eat bucktails."
let's bring you to your knees. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time. Yeah.
Oh, all right, fellas. Any final thoughts here? Well, we got Rowan on the line. I'm pretty well ready for bed.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I don't know if I got anything to add. That was a good discussion. Covered a good wide variety. A couple frustrations, which is totally fine. We had to cap off
A
the
little
year.
vent session.
Nothing wrong with that. I know
Pressure,
when
guys.
we have
Pressure.
those every once in a while, people will message and say, "Hey, agree on this and that," or you can message us and we're idiots.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
the best year I've ever had. I caught more big muskies this year than any year.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, that guy can eat my shorts.
We'll send you all those comments.
Totally. Well, Rowan, can't thank you enough for having you on here. What are you doing the rest of the season? You getting out again? You done?
Yeah.
Or what's
Unfortunately, I think I am still fishing.
oh
I'm I was all ready to be done. I slept in today. We were supposed to meet at like 9 o'clock, and I texted him last night and was like 11:30 maybe. And then I just had him pull up to my house at 11:30, and I was still sitting in my underwear watching TV. So there's not a lot of motivation left over here. But I checked the forecast today, and it's supposed to be like 45 next week. So I will be out doing the same things, puttering around the same 6 spots, staring at muskies.
Maybe I'm dumb, but when does the muskie season actually close?
December 31st.
Okay.
For Wisconsin,
Gotcha.
yeah.
I kind of
Nice.
wish it would just keep going. I don't really understand why they have to end it at December 31st. Like, as long as we're not ice pitching for them.
Because there's too much
Southern
pressure.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, like, I mean, Southern Wisconsin, just let us go. I mean, some poor idiot wants to be out there in January, let him fucking wobble. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
it'll be me, but I'll make fun of that guy.
Got a point. Got a point. Well, if people want to get in touch with you to fish, whether it is somehow in like the next week or two or next season, I'm sure people would probably be looking at more like summer options.
Yeah,
How do they get in
summer's
touch
good.
with you?
Summer's real good.
Wait till
Summer's
then.
great. June, September.
Yeah, wait
August.
for when the muskies actually do bite.
Yeah, let's go in there. Muskies in the lake, and they didn't take them all out. But Instagram, Facebook. It's just my name, Rowan Stamm, and then phone number is 608-381-5524. Text me or leave me a message. I probably won't answer my phone if you try and call me. But yeah, get a hold of me. My dates are already getting kind of skinny for next season. So yeah, now or never.
Hell yeah. Get yourself on a sweet river float, drift boat, whatever, your other rig, fly fish,
Yeah.
conventional, you got it all going.
Yep. Anything you want to do. Now I'm all set up for trolling too by the end of next year. We're gonna
Damn.
Oh yeah, we're getting you in the trolling game.
Yeah.
Inverted you a little bit.
Yeah, I got corrupted.
It's
It's
a
I guess
thing.
it works.
Yeah. It does something.
It definitely does. Well, fellas, I think we're gonna call it a pod here. So Brian, if you want to send us on our way for the outro.
Gus, you want to drop any of your stuff, or does everyone kind of at this point know where to? Okay,
Yeah, all right. I'll quick drop that real quick. You can find us at Muskies on Tap on Instagram and Facebook now. We made a Facebook page. Go and give that a like.
We're light
follow.
on Facebook, man. We're light. People don't like us on the Facebook. It's crazy.
You got beef or what?
I don't know. Probably because none of us used it for 15 years.
Got some
I was
enemies.
gonna say, yeah, getting back into it really. Yeah, right up until guiding, I just like forgot about Facebook, and then I popped back in, and all of a sudden they got like groups and pages and Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, oh, that's kind of hopping here.
Yeah.
And then now you realize like, oh, it's like too hopping on stuff.
Too much pressure on Facebook.
Too much pressure on Facebook.
Club is too crowded.
This is my spot.
This is my comment
This is my
section.
chat forum.
I remember there used to only be 500 people in this group. Now there's a bunch of imbeciles here.
I got Facebook first.
It's just a freaking DR contest, ego checks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always like the it's a tiger muskie comments.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sweet tiger. It's like, oh my god, like the internet warrior in me is just like it's a barred muskie. Like Jesus Christ, not everything's a tiger.
Yeah.
My favorite comments are like some of the more big, like I don't know, tens of thousands of followers on Instagram fishing guides. They might get like 50 to 100 comments on a post, but you always find like 5 people that say, "Cool, where's this at?" I'm like, dog, you are not getting an answer.
Dog.
Awesome. Where at?
Yeah. Drop a pin.
You
Coordinate?
always get that.
You could do a
Every
full
time.
podcast of like just if you like just took a couple weeks and like banked some of your favorite comments
Oh, it'd be good.
and then just did like a full podcast of like hilarious shit people are saying. Oh, Rowan left us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we
left
could do
us.
that. One of our winter episodes, well, at least a segment, a little 20-minute segment, roll
Yeah.
through the top comments of the year. Be some good
We've
laughs.
thought about it.
Yeah.
We've flirted with that idea.
We can just start stockpiling them. Every once in a while you find a good in, throw it in the chat, save it,
Yeah.
book it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than Muskies on Tap on socials, you can also find my own personal stuff. You can follow me on Facebook, Gus Manty, or Suggs Fishing on Facebook and Instagram, or visit www.sugsfishing.com, which is SUGS Fishing. Got a lot of my information on there if you want to get in touch with me. We got merch, the hats, and we'll give a nice, tasty merch update after the
Ooh.
holidays.
Not
And
right now. If you only want to tease it,
tease what? Merch, hoodies,
Merch.
t-shirts, some
new.
more pint
Whoa. New
glasses,
design. Whoa. Hey.
I mean,
new
whoa,
New
design,
logo. New design.
new
Rebranding.
logo.
Going
not a
on here.
rebrand, not a rebrand.
Oh,
No
these are
rebrand.
teasers, Max. You got to get the people's minds spinning a little
No,
bit.
we're rebranding. We actually might get new employees after the New Year's. I didn't mean to hit that out too early.
Selling the company.
But Max
Brian
made
and I are getting the axe.
one too many comments about the Madison PMTT, and he's out of here. But no, we'll have that going for after the holidays. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, New Year's, everything. Have a great time off of work and all that stuff. We'll see you guys on the flippity flop. See you next year.
Alrighty,
I had to say
everybody.
that.
See you next
Thank you for
year.
listening to this episode of Muskies on Tap. Shout out to Rowan Stamm for coming on to the pod tonight. Incredible stuff from him. Always fun chatting with him. Make sure you guys book a trip with him in the next week or two. Should have plenty of time for that. No big holiday
Sounds like
around the
it's
corner.
hot. Sounds like it's
It
hot.
bite is hot, and he is stoked to get you out. So make sure to
They
hit
are
him up.
biting.
We
They do
big
eat.
holiday coming up here. Merry Christmas, everybody. Make sure to grab your loved one a nice, I don't know, bulldog, mag dog, something nice for them that they're going to love this holiday season. And more importantly, though, than Christmas, almost damn near, we got the Buckeyes playing Saturday after Christmas, guys. Big showdown wearing the All Reds against Tennessee. Tennessee comes into the shoe to get that ass whoop. Packer playoff football right around the corner, and the Tap Boys here might be going to a Packer game together here coming up soon. I don't know. Still ironing that out here, guys, but stay tuned. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.